Hey, everybody, welcome to Movie Show Plus. It's so good to be with you. Tom Santilli here, film critic, here as always, of course, with Greg Russell himself over there. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Tom, good to see you.
You too, man, as always. We haven't had a chance to get together here in maybe a month or so, or maybe more than a month.
Time has become irrelevant. It seems like we were either together last week or last month or last
Could
year.
have been yesterday. It might have been a few years ago. Who knows
Right.
at this point? Yeah.
It's just
whoever's in the other Zoom window, we just start chatting to them about
Right.
movies. That's all. Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
matter anymore. Well, Greg, a year ago it's been now as we record this episode. We've just had the anniversary of the lockdown, really, where it's been now a year. Our lives changed, of course. All the lives that have been lost, all the tragedy that has come with this. With our industry having not been in a theater going on a year, what are your thoughts now that we just hit that milestone? How are you feeling about stuff, and what do you think? It looks like, where are we at right now?
Like you said, it's so weird where, as well, think about 2020, it seems like, oh my goodness, that was the year that lasted so long. But in reality is it's gone, and kind of like went by somewhat quick, because
weird.
March 12th last year of 2020, which was a Thursday. And the main reason I remember that is because the next day was Friday the 13th. But on that Thursday, that morning, I was in New York doing interviews with Octavia Spencer and Blair Underwood for the new movie Self-Made, the Madam C.J. Walker movie, the story. And it was just so weird because, Tom, you've been in, like the hospitalities before. And normally, people are just all kind of like mingling around and, just sitting with each other and stuff. I just remember it was just kind of like very strange. Everybody was, you were close with your friends, the people who you really know. But then other people, everybody's kind of like, and then they even let us know that there won't be any handshaking when you go into the room. Now, mind you, this is before any of the rules or anything came up.
Sure.
And the thing was, I flew home that Thursday. I was going to be home Friday and then fly out Saturday to Sunday to LA for another thing from Netflix. As soon as I landed, I called my rep, Katie, at Netflix. And as soon as I got her on the phone, she said, "Hi, Greg, don't worry. We've canceled everything."
We canceled everything. Wow.
And it's like from that moment on, boom, just been right here in the house and visiting people just like you and I are right now. I mean, I've done more Zoom calls than I probably ever thought I would have ever done Zoom calls in my life.
And the future of the business, the whole thing is changing because of this, of course. And some of these things might be around forever. Speaking of how things change, the big news right now, but of course, too, the Oscar nominations just came out. We're going to get to those in a minute. And we got more coming up on the show, too. A couple interviews with Greg, some more movie reviews, all the normal stuff. But I want to let people know, too, that, we're both members of Critics' Choice Awards. It's clearly we're in the middle of the award season. The Golden Globes was kind of a major disaster this year, from the voting to the stories about the group to the actual broadcast. The Critics' Choice Awards was on the CW, and unfortunately, you can't plan these things in advance. It just happened to be up against the Oprah interview with the royal with Meghan Markle. And so it's like, I'm not sure how many people saw the Critics' Choice Awards, but it was a good time. And I thought that how they did it is probably a little bit closer to what the Oscars might do. What are your thoughts on how Critics' Choice went and what we might see with these award shows kind of easing their way back into, actual people in a room?
Right. No, I agree with you. Also, another thing that was on that same night was the NBA All-Star Game. So only thing missing would have been Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr doing a Beatles reunion concert with Eric Clapton, playing.
On the moon landing or something.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But no, I agree with you. I thought our show, and I'm not just saying it because, like you said, that we're members of, definitely looked better and felt better than the Golden Globes. And now, true enough, our guys had even told me, of course, they all watch the Globes, just to see. And they picked up on things of what to do and what not to do.
That's true. Yeah.
But like you said, ours went smooth. I like the way, that whenever who won our award, boom, the camera's just on them. We don't need to see everybody else sitting around, trying to smile. And it just had this kind of like nice being at home type feel, because it's like a lot of the folks were dressed like you and I are right now. You
I
know,
could have
just
used less Instagram filters from Tay Diggs, the host. But
yeah,
other than that, it was cool that, well, some of the presenters were like there with him. So like
yeah.
it was still kind of like we were getting some people live,
Hmm.
most of the nominees were through Zoom. But yeah, it was an interesting mix, and it'll be interesting to see
Yeah,
what the Oscars do. They have the advantage of another month or two of
right.
people getting vaccinated, and things hopefully, you know, edging towards what we call
Some type of
normal.
normal,
Yeah.
right? I don't
Well,
know. There's nothing normal anymore. So everything,
yeah. What is normal? We don't. Normal has never existed on this show, at least. So who
no,
knows?
no, thank
Uh,
you.
Speaking of the Oscars, though, before we talk about some of the stuff, let's go through the nominations.
All right.
Everybody, here you go. Here were the Oscar nominations for this past year. So Greg, there was a lot of history made
Yeah.
this year with the Oscar nominations. Uh, before we get to that, though, the one thing that again stuck with me this year that I just am upset about, I
Yeah.
guess, is the Five Bloods just kind of getting really overlooked.
Yeah.
Delroy Lindo is the big, glaring one, was
Right.
not nominated by the Academy. And even he won, by the way. The Detroit Film Critics just put their awards out. Delroy Lindo was our best actor pick,
All right.
but he was not nominated. And The Five Bloods, only one nomination, and it was for best score. So no Spike Lee, no
Yeah.
film, no screenplay, nothing.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts there?
Like you said, I think, you know, Lord really knows, but maybe it depended on when the movie came out. Because sometimes if they come out too early, everybody
Yeah,
all of a sudden
that's true.
starts looking towards the fall and winter
That's
for
true.
those movies, and those are the ones that stick in your mind.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that, honestly, to me, just maybe is what happened. It just came out too early
Okay.
in the year, where all of a sudden everybody saw it. Everybody, remember, we all loved it when it came out. But then by the
True.
time the end of the year rolls around, it's like you've got, Ma Rainey, One Night in Miami, and all these others that are right there and they're fresh. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can think of.
That's a good point. Always the early year releases, and that's why we call it award season. All those films that they're hoping will win get those late releases. Now, of course, we will have an Oscar show of some
Yeah.
kind, like we normally do, as we get closer, where we'll go through each category and give people our picks and things like that. But for now, I just wanted to just maybe touch on some of the things, some of the history here. I'm gonna read off of my screen here because I did not memorize all this. But Stephen Yeun
Yes.
is a Michigander. He went to Troy High School.
Yeah.
First Asian American actor ever nominated for an Academy Award. He has broken the mold. Riz Ahmed, first Muslim to be nominated for Best Actor. Now, of course, Mahershala Ali is Muslim, who was nominated and actually won in the supporting category, but Riz Ahmed is the first as Best Actor. You had the female directors. There's never been more than one. And of course, this year there are two. Emerald Fennell who did Promising Young Woman, and as well as Chloe Zhao from Nomadland. On that note, I guess this year was also a record for the total nominations of women. 76 nominations overall for women this year, which is a record for any year. You, of course, had Chadwick Boseman posthumously nominated for an award for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. You got Viola Davis, who, again, crosses another barrier as being now the most nominated African-American actress ever, with her nomination in Ma Rainey.
Right.
Judas and the Black Messiah is the first all-black production team to be nominated for Best Picture. And I will also say this, that as far as ageism, there's a lot of ageism in Hollywood too. Anthony Hopkins, for The Father, at age 83, has now become the oldest person ever nominated for actor. And we got an 89-year-old Anne Roth, who is a costume designer, nominated for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, who was nominated this year. 89 ties a record for any Oscar at any age or any category. So that's pretty good. I just listed off a lot of those things, Greg. Of all those things, which ones to you stick out or are the most notable, would you say?
Wow. Well, like you said, Judas and the Black Messiah. I mean, like you said, an entire, crew of African Americans, putting the movie together. That's fantastic. And also, something that young filmmakers like here in the city of Detroit take notice of that, and when you start doing your films, get your buddies together and do it, in a good way, a professional way. Then also just the Anthony Hopkins thing. He did a fantastic performance in that movie. And as a person who, went through it, like with my mom with the dementia, it was like therapeutic, just watching it. And it was just like, oh my goodness, that's what happens. This is what goes on. So he did a phenomenal job.
What a fantastic film. The Father in general too was really rewarded heavily. It's up for Best Picture, adapted screenplay, even editing, and also Olivia Colman for supporting actress. And people get tired of hearing Anthony Hopkins or Meryl Streep over and over again. But this movie really, really was one of, if not Hopkins' best performance ever. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it sure is. Right. Yeah. But like I said, if you're tired of hearing their names, then put somebody up there in a better job, who does a better job.
Exactly. And it's hard to find. Yeah, that's for sure. Go ahead.
I was just saying, and also like you said about, the two female directors, being nominated, Emerald Fennell, which actually her movie, Promising Young Woman, is my favorite.
Yes. Yep.
movie of the year. Even though I think Regina King should have also been nominated for One Night in Miami.
Big snub.
So, put that out there as well. But yeah, it's, always something, and unfortunately is going to be left off. But it's like, sometimes, hey guys, check things out. Look at, the films and the different things like that, and not just put your buddy in.
Exactly. Speaking of One Night in Miami, Leslie Odom Jr. This is an interesting fact. There have been people in the past, like Barbara Streisand, Lady Gaga, who have been nominated for an acting category and for Best Song. But Leslie Odom Jr. Is the first male to ever do both of those things. So I thought that was an interesting fact.
Yeah.
And so, last but not least, in terms of the record making this year, and you can again appreciate this, is Netflix dominated. They had 35 nominations overall. The record is 45, which was set back in 1941 by United Artists. And it says here too, the Best Picture category this year, there were no major studios represented. You had only streaming platforms and indie groups like Netflix. You have Amazon, A24, Focus, Searchlight, Sony Classics, but you don't see Warner Brothers or any of these big,
Or
yeah,
20th century.
exactly.
Wow.
I mean, not Netflix. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people were like, Mudbound. You remember that movie? Like,
Nice.
how
Yep.
great was that movie? What is it doing on Netflix? And then
Yeah.
3 years later, they're dominating the Oscars. It's and they're trending upward, not downward.
Right. And people go, oh, it's showing in the theater? What? Is it bad? Why are they showing it in the
Yeah,
theaters?
exactly. Why isn't it on the streaming platform? Why are we
Right.
putting it just in theaters? That's an interesting transition. Well, Greg, like I said, we have lots more coming up on
Yeah.
that. But why don't we just get into what's out this week? There's a couple new films. I got some reviews, like I mentioned, and we have some interviews with you that we'll get into next. So let's just dig in.
Here we go.
Sounds like work.
No, tell them I'm in my chair.
Yes, he's just walked in.
This is unexpected. I can't believe I'm actually having lunch with spies. I'm just a salesman.
Exactly. You're a civilian, so the KGB won't be watching.
It would be a real service to Great Britain.
What would you want me to do?
This would have been a fascinating story if just someone had created it. But to know that it actually took place is just kind of like mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing because these two guys did really contribute to the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis. They didn't even know they were going to do that. They were bringing back information from the Soviet Union. But the extraordinary thing about Greville Wynn was he was not a spy. He had nothing to do with MI6. He was a salesman, just traveling, selling factory equipment, basically. He was an engineer who'd gone into sales, and he was traveling there, and that's why MI6 and the CIA chose him, because he had a great cover. He had a legitimate reason to be there, and for most of the time it worked.
But to find out later that it's fact, was that something that also helped pull you into wanting to be in this movie and make the movie?
Well, Dominic pitched it to me, who I've worked with before in the Hollow Crown series, the Shakespeare history plays where I played Richard III for him, and then before that in the role at the Royal Court Theatre, where he was artistic director for many years. So we had a working relationship and a great friendship born out of those experiences. And we'd always said, let's find something special to do again soon. And he beat me to the post, and he pitched this story to me. And at the end of the pitch, I was like, is this true? I mean, I knew about the Cuban Missile Crisis and the key players of Khrushchev and Kennedy. But no, this is all true. And I read Tom's script, and they really dug deep on their research, and they were in absolutely what's the word? Completely and utterly absorbed in that world. Certainly for my generation, it's a story that's been lost. And so yes, I think it's a great one to bring to light. I think he became this, from naive, very knowing, a master of spycraft, and then in the end, this heroic friend. And I was just, I was really pulled into the idea of playing that arc. I get asked to play a lot of extraordinary characters who, when you meet, you go, what, how? Whether it's a Turing or a Sherlock or a Julian Assange. But this guy is, you get what you see. It's all on the sleeve, and yet, this journey is just remarkable.
I'm volunteering to bring back the best source of Soviet intelligence you've got at a time where Russia and America are on the brink of nuclear war.
Maybe we're only two people, but this is how things change.
The big release this week is Zack Snyder's Justice League, coming exclusively to HBO Max on March 18th. If you don't know the history of this movie, then you must not be a huge comic book film nerd like me, or the millions on Twitter that really ended up making this movie happen. It's basically a director's cut of the 2017 DC Comics Extended Universe film Justice League, and this new version is a whopping 4 hours and 3 minutes long, compared to the original theatrical version, which was barely 2 hours. Director Zack Snyder, who previously brought us other DCEU films like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, was in post-production on Justice League back in 2017 when tragically his daughter committed suicide. Snyder left the film to be with his family when an uncredited Joss Whedon stepped in to finish the film for Warner Brothers. Whedon had directed the first Avengers movie as well as Avengers Age of Ultron, so the studio thought that Justice League would be in good hands. But Whedon and Snyder's visions couldn't have been further apart. By all accounts, Justice League was a massive failure, bashed by critics and fans, and underperforming at the box office. That's when chatter online began for a Zack Snyder cut of the film, so that the director could finally realize his version. 4 years and $70 million additional dollars later, and Zack Snyder's Justice League is finally here. Impressively, this is a much better overall film than the original, and somehow, some way, at over 4 hours, it feels more focused. Characters are given much more room to grow and breathe, and certain characters like Cyborg or the Flash, who were sort of pushed aside in the first film, are really fleshed out. The movie itself is really an entirely new film, not just a change here and there. The coloring is different, scenes play out differently, and the story even manages to go in new directions. By and large, fans who have been clamoring for this version will be excited and pleased with the outcome. Now, the story still has its problems. Yet another supervillain looking to destroy Earth for no real reason, and I've had my problems with Snyder's darker, more dreary version of Superman for years now. So this movie didn't go from terrible to great all of a sudden. However, it is a vindication for the director, who clearly put everything he had into this movie, and he even dedicated it to his daughter. It's hard not to root for this film to have success. This is not some auteur tinkering with his masterpiece, but instead is a grieving dad who is determined not to leave unfinished business on the table. I gave the original Justice League a C-, but I give Zack Snyder's Justice League a solid B. Also in theaters this week is the spy thriller The Courier, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Rachel Brosnahan. And new on Netflix is the compelling documentary Operation Varsity Blues: The College Admissions Scandal. My reviews of both of these films can be found on our site. For more detailed reviews of these and other movies, please check me out on Rotten Tomatoes. You can go to the site, search the critics list to find Tom Santilli, and you can scroll through all of my recent and not so recent reviews. Another good way to find my stuff is to follow me on Twitter at Tom Santilli, or go to the website movieshowplus.com.
How many albums have you had? 4. And no hits. Honey, find the songs that move you. Until you do that, you ain't going nowhere. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Say
Aretha, you do talk, don't you? Not just sing?
I like you to call me Miss Franklin. You have to disturb the peace when you can't get no peace.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me.
If you want to be great chefs, you have to learn about all kinds of different foods.
From the people who brought you Chef's Table, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, and Ugly Delicious, come 2 new heroes of food.
Hi, I'm Waffles, and this is Mochi.
Hello, Waffles and Mochi. Are you ready for an amazing adventure?
This show went all over the world. I mean, it wasn't just here in the United States, it was everywhere. So internationally, you got to teach kids how to make all types of things.
What Waffle and Mochi is going to achieve is unbelievable. We're talking about 190 plus countries, millions of children. To me, quite frankly, I think we're going to see that Mrs. Obama is going from the first lady of the United States to the food ambassador of the world.
Mrs. Obama, I knew she's great, but then I'm like, wow, she is a good actor and she has really good comic timing. She's so funny. You know, as a young cook, like when I first heard of Mrs. Obama's initiatives in the garden and in the kitchen with kids, it was so aligned with the philosophy, the kitchen philosophy that I had come up with.
It's not only showing kids, you know, how to make their own meals, but the best part is showing that you don't necessarily need 10,000 things to make. You can make something good with maybe just 4 or 5, you know, different things and a little bit of an ingredient.
No, even one ingredient, you know, it's important to understand the quality that is a quality of the farmers, the fishermen, the cheesemaker, the products that you use. This is one thing that is extremely important as an approach for the kids and for the adults.
Waffles Mochi!
Best look ever.
I couldn't have done it without my friends Mochi and Waffles.
This Mochi and Waffles is your new home.
Waffles and Mochi.
Take my beard off! That's too hot!
Waffles and Mochi.
Well, we're back here to close out this episode. Again, it was great chatting with you again, Greg. I know we don't get together every single week these days, but you know, it's good whenever we do get the chance to get together and talk about movies.
Yeah, look forward to it. Always a great time with you, Tom. We always have a good time, fun conversation, and you know, we talk about movies and pretty much everything about them. So it's always fun.
And again, you guys can, you know, you guys know about us. You can look up Greg. You can look up myself, find our stuff elsewhere, watch us on some other networks, and find us, of course, on movieshowplus.com, where you can also help support our show by donating to patreon.com. Even just a couple dollars a month helps support our show. It keeps us on the air. So we appreciate all the support. Greg, that'll be doing it for this week, man. I hope we see each other soon, maybe in person, possibly.
Oh my God, that would be so great.
Imagine that.
I'll wear my dress sweatpants.
I had a couple jokes ready for that, but I'll leave them. I'll leave them on the editing room floor there.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next time on Movie Show Plus.
Take care, folks.
Check out movieshowplus.com to watch this episode online and for exclusive content, extended interviews with Greg Russell, and a complete archive of movie reviews with Tom Santilli. Also, make sure to like and follow us on social media and on our Movie Show Plus YouTube channel.